Hey you guys, so I wanted to come on here and do kind of an encouragement video, give some of you guys some things that kind of helped me through my wilderness season, because as some of us know, it is a very hard season to go through, especially if you have never been through one before. So I have my notes right here because the first video I made, I was just yapping and it was just so out of order, so I wanted to make sure I took my notes. So if you see me looking down, forgive me for my rudeness. But the first thing I wanted to touch on, that was something that helped me. A lot of you guys know that I moved out here to Arizona from California after a dream that the Lord had gave me back in November. So if you want, you can go to my channel and you can watch those videos, or that video. It was a very hard season for me. It was very dry. Work was just not going very well out here with my business. As some of you may know, that I, had a hair business back home. I did hair extensions and stuff like that, and that was very successful while I was out there. So when I had moved to Arizona, I thought, oh, I am just gonna walk into all these blessings and it's gonna be amazing. And to be honest, it was very hard, very discouraging. When I came out, was it beautiful? Yes. But it took a lot of faith in God to get me through that, because everything was so dry, like I said, and I was now in this season of completely having to rely on the Lord. I had to rely on Him for my finances. I had to rely on Him when it came to my children. I had never been through this before. I've always been an entrepreneur, go-getter, and I had to really, I can't even explain how much I really had to rely on the Lord for this strength to go through this. So yeah, in the beginning, I cried a lot. I was frustrated. There was a few times where I was like, nope, I'm going back to Cali. I can't do this, Lord. And every time that I would get in those, in my feelings, He would always confirm, this is really where I sent you. Because it would be like, there's no way you sent me here. There's just no way that what I thought you were saying, you really said, because this does not look like a blessing in this moment. This seems crazy. This seems just bad, in the beginning. And so He would confirm over and over and over again, I did send you. So that would keep me encouraged to stay. And another thing was when I first got out here, like I said, it was a lot of crying and frustration. But what went from crying and frustration 6 months ago, when I'm in worship now and I'm crying out of just a grateful heart that the Lord took me on this journey and through this process. Because had I not went through this in the past 6 months, had I not been obedient to the Lord and what He told me to do, I would not be where I'm at right now in my faith. I would not have the relationship and intimacy that I have with the Lord right now. I've never had this type of intimacy with the Lord. I've never heard the Lord speak as much as He's spoken to me in this season. It's just a whole nother ball game. And I've never had to depend on God as much as I have had to. And just really seeing He is faithful and He comes through. So now what turned from, crying and what seemed like a burden to me, and now I look back and I'm just like, thank you so much, God, for taking me through this process, because it was so worth it. going through the healing, having the relationship that I now have with him, just everything. So it was worth it. It was so worth it. I live in a beautiful city. I mean, it's safe here for me and my children. It's beautiful. The people we've met, they're beautiful people. The church we're at, everything is just working out, Like I said, I'm still in a mini wilderness, so there's still some things, but I have seen God's goodness over and over again. So I just want to jump into just some tips that I have for you guys who are going through this. Sorry, I have to fix my eyelash. Because I don't want to be looking all crazy on here. Okay, so first one I have is seek God's face daily. Not in like a religious way, but really spending that time with him, getting into a relationship. How do you get to know a person's voice? It's by spending time with them. And so really get to know who the Lord is, his character. And you will come to find that the Lord is so attentive. This is something that I have learned about him. He is so attentive to me. And it blows my mind, and it makes me regret all my wild years of not seeking the Lord, because I'm like, I could have had this years ago if I would have got my act together. So it's been just beautiful seeing his attentiveness to me and my children. So seek God's face daily. Any chance you get. It does not have to be a religious thing. You do not have to come out with these special crazy prayers. I'm just like a simple, okay, Lord, what are we going to do today? Or, how do you look at me? How do you feel about me? Just conversation, just relationship, conversation. That has really helped. It says in Hebrews 11:6, and it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. So, like I said, seek him, seek his face. Every worry you have, every doubt you have, bring it to him. Have a real conversation with him. Even the frustrations that you feel in this season, I have had to bring my frustrations and be completely honest, because God knows what we're feeling in our hearts anyways. So there's no point in hiding, your frustration and your why. So definitely, seeking him, being honest. It also says if you seek him, you will find him. And number 2 would be remind yourself of all God's goodness and think back to the times where you may have went through a hard situation, where you were struggling, where it just seemed like you were not going to get out of this situation. There was just no way out of this. And think back to those times and how God brought you through those moments. And that right there will keep you encouraged when you constantly replay all of God's goodness in your life and all the times he came through for you. And when I really sat there and I tried to think about a time where I felt let down by the Lord, or I felt like I didn't get through a situation, there was not one time, even when I wasn't serving the Lord, there was not one time I could think that God did not bring me out of something. And so that right there kept me so encouraged. And something that I would remind myself of is, on my journey with the Lord, in situations that I've really had to have faith in, I would sit there and I would, when God would pull through, I would be like, oh my gosh, why did I doubt you, God? Why did I doubt you? And I would feel so bad for just doubting him and not having faith in who I knew he was. And I would feel so bad. So I try to remember those moments when I feel discouraged, when I'm in a hard situation. And I tell myself, Noelle, you're going to kick yourself in the butt when God pulls through, and you are going to have to say, I'm sorry that I doubted you. So even that keeps me encouraged to keep going, to keep trusting him, and knowing that I will make it out of this situation. Another thing, number 3, would be to stay in your word. Find encouraging scriptures that will keep you going, because one thing that the devil really did with me in the beginning of this season was, did God really tell you to move? Is he really for you? It kind of seems like your life is getting a little bit worse. Why? And so those thoughts would go in my mind, those lies would go through my mind. So I would have to go in the word, not just to find encouragement, but even when you read the story of the Israelites going through the wilderness, they complained against God constantly. And one thing I heard John Bevere say in one of his videos was, you can't shorten a wilderness, but you can lengthen it. And with the Israelites, that's what they did. They complained so much that what would have been a short period of time in the wilderness ended up extending to a 40-year process. And nobody's trying to do that. That's something that would go through my head too when I was, in my word and I was reading these things, was I am not trying to lengthen my process. I'm trying to get this process done and over with, be obedient, and, just let God do this healing in me. Let God take me through this process, because he's a good father and he has a good reason for it. And I can say that now. Like I said, 6 months ago, that was a different story, and it was very hard for me to say that. But now looking back, I can say that it was so worth it. It's worth it. Just the healing, the character change, just the process, things that God had to take me through, and learning to really trust him. So worth it. So those are my 3 main things that really helped me and have really got me through this. So I hope that was encouraging to you. I plan to come on here more. I wish I could share all of my testimonies from this season so far, because God has moved in some miraculous ways in these past 6 months. And so maybe I will come on with another video about that. But for right now, I really felt like it was important to just encourage you guys, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. So keep pushing. It gets better. God is faithful. He is for you. And I love you guys, and I will be back soon.